So let's come to a topic which is related to reconstruction. Reconstruction of band limited signals from its sequence, from the discrete time sequence. Okay, so what you had is till now what we had seen was you had converted x continuous of t, you passed it through a C to D converter, and you got a discrete time sequence. Now this discrete time sequence has to be passed through a D to C converter to get the x C of t back. This is what the goal is. We looked at this guy, now we will be looking at this one. So first step we know is that you have got x of n, and from here you have to convert a discrete sequence time sequence to continuous time. So that you get the intermediate signal xs of t, which is same as the one which we had looked at, and then you pass it through a ideal reconstruction filter, ideal reconstruction filter to obtain your desired signal which was sampled here. This guy has to be obtained back. So how do you do that is, first thing you know that excess of t in your C to D converter, if you had looked at, the x of n was obtained by using excess of nt, right? This was what was done, and where n was varied. So the reverse way of doing that is to get back the excess of t. What we will do is summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity c. So here we have started off like with xc of t, and then we sampled it at these instances, which is like 0, t, 2t, 3t, and we got this. So something like this guy, something of this sort was what was obtained, 0t, 2t, 3t, right? From here, this was xs of t. From here you had converted into x of n, which is the amplitude remains same, only thing instead of t you had replaced it with 1, 2, 3 and so on, the multiples. This was your x of n. This was how it was represented. Okay, so now from x of n, if I want to get back the xs of t, I will be multiplying it with unit impulse function again, which is separated by the t's, and when I multiply, do 1:1 multiplication, I get excess of t back. I will be getting excess of t. So from when you multiply this function with this function, the product will be same as this guy here. So x of n into delta of t minus nt. This is what you have, excess of t, n varying from minus infinity to infinity. Okay, so now excess of t, which is if we will just move to the frequency domain for a short while. If you remember the C to D converter, we started off with like saying that in the frequency domain, which is this guy here, xc of t has got a continuous time Fourier transform, which looks something like this. This was the assumption we started off, right? Minus omega m, and then from this x continuous of j omega, I got xs of j omega, which was the something like this, right? So minus omega m to omega m this was omega s minus omega m to omega s plus omega m, and so on. So this was repeating because it was a convolution operation. Okay, minus omega s plus omega m minus omega s minus omega m, with this value of was 1 by t. Okay, so this was what was you had obtained x s of j omega, and then you converted it into x of e raised to j omega by changing the whole scenario by normal on a normalized frequency. This was your now some frequency, which was omega m. This was omega m minus 0, and it was normalized frequency range scale. So this was 2 pi, omega s became 2 pi, and so on. So this was how you had obtained the values omega m. Now what we are trying to do here is from x of e raised to j omega, you have got this back. This is your x s of j omega. Since here in your diagram here in the time domain, you have got this back, x s of t, which has got a Fourier transform of x s of j omega. Now if you look at x s of j omega, it's a continuous time Fourier transform. Okay, and there is information content which is repeated every omega s. These are all redundant information. What is your original content is only this guy here, which is only 1 along 0. This was what you started off with. This was your original content. Now to get back the original content, what I have to do is I have to pass this here, which is your excess. Let me draw the excess of j omega, which was something like this: 0 omega m minus omega m, and this was repeating. If your omega m was twice omega m is equal to omega s, then this is what you will obtain, right? So this is what you will obtain. If you see, there is lot of replication here. Now what I wanted was only this guy here. If this is twice omega m, if it is like if your omega s is greater than twice omega m, what will happen is in case of this particular representation is for omega s equal to twice omega m. If I make my frequency such that twice omega m is less than omega s, then my spectrum will look something like this. Then my spectrum will look something like this, where there will be some guard band available for me to look at. So this will be this will be omega s, and this will be omega s minus omega s. So this will be minus omega s. So this is what you will have, 1 by t, 1 by t. Okay, and this will continue on both sides. Now if I pass, I had started saying that this was my original, this was my original, and this was the sampled version. Still it's got a additional information here which is unrequired. I am interested in only this guy here. Okay, so what I'll do here is I'll pass it through a ideal reconstruction filter, which is a flat band filter. Okay, and it's got a pass band of 0 to omega s by 2. Okay, so if I pass it through this filter, which is your HR of j omega, this is the frequency response, HR of j omega, frequency response of the filter. What will happen is I have to multiply in the frequency domain, right? XR, if I pass this through the filter, then what happens here is in the ideal reconstruction filter, my x reconstructed, let me just change this to reconstructed, which is same as your x, this output here XR of t is xs of t convolved with HR of t, which is your this the impulse response function. In the frequency domain, it is xr of j omega equal to xs of j omega into hr of j omega multiplication. So, if I multiply these two spectrums, what I will get is my x reconstructed. So, this will be omega m, this will be minus omega m, and this will be 0. So, I will be getting my reconstructed value. This value has to be t, because this is 1 by t. So, this will become 1. The amplitude is t for the hr of j omega. So, this is 0. So, if I multiply the two, I will be getting x r of j omega, which is same as x c of j omega. Okay, it's continuous of j omega. So, they will be same. So, what I have to do is my ideal reconstruction filter has to have a bandwidth of 0 to omega s by 2. Okay, this is my pass band. So, since my Fourier transform is symmetric around 0, I can only implement real functions, so it has to be symmetric. So, since it is symmetric, so I will get from minus omega s by 2 to omega s by 2. In the frequency domain, or in this is my omega s by 2 to omega s by 2. Okay, so it's or I can just say my omega s by 2 to omega s by 2 will be same as since omega s is 2 pi by t, it can also mean that minus pi by t to pi by t. This is what I will have. So, if I pass it through this ideal reconstruction filter, I will get my x continuous of t. In the this is in the frequency domain, it is a multiplication operation, but in the time domain, what is going to happen is the resultant is going to be same. Only thing what is going to happen is that in the time domain, it is going to be a convolution function. So, you have this x s of t convolved with h r of t, you will get your x r of t, the reconstructed output. Now, what is h r of t? I have my frequency response h r of j omega, which looks something like this, right? This is my frequency response, minus pi by t to pi by t, it is 1, sorry, it is t, value is t. This is given, this is desired frequency response. If I want to, this is the desired response, my time domain frequency time domain impulse response will be h r of t h r of t will be equal to the inverse Fourier transform of h r of j omega. This is what it will be. Okay, this is what it will be. Yeah, inverse Fourier transform of h r of j omega. Clear? So, now if I take a inverse Fourier transform, which is your continuous time Fourier transform, it is 1 by 2 pi integral over the from minus infinity to infinity. Okay, minus infinity to infinity, h r of j omega into e raised to j omega t d omega. This is what your inverse Fourier transform is, e raised to j omega t d omega. So, I know my Fourier response, the frequency response of my, and that is h r of j omega exists from minus pi by t to pi by t is t into e raised to j omega t d omega, right. So, this value will be t upon 2 pi into e raised to j omega t upon j t d omega. This is what it will be. Sorry, this d omega will not be there. This is my integral, and this value will be from minus pi by t to pi by t. So what you will have is t upon 2 pi e raised to j omega pi, e raised to j pi by t minus e raised to minus j pi by t upon j t. So what I can do is I can get the 2 here. So this 2j e raised to j theta minus e raised to minus j theta upon 2j will be sine. So sine of pi t by t upon this is t. So this will be pi t upon t. This is what you will get as the inverse Fourier transform, that is HR of t. Now I know one thing, this is my HR of t, that is the impulse response of the ideal reconstruction filter, ideal reconstruction filter. Okay. So now what I have to do is I know that my xc of t is a convolution of x s of t with hr of t, the convolution operation. So now what is excess of t? Excess of t is summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity x of t. If you look at the equation on top, here, my xs of t is x of n into delta of t minus nt, right? So I can do the same thing here. So I can add this as x of n into delta of t minus nt convolved with hr of t. So now I know that the convolution operation of this guy with this guy, because both have t as a factor, will be summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity x of n into hr of t minus nt. This is what I will get, delta of t minus nt convolved with hr of t, you get it as hr of t minus nt, which in turn summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity will be equal to x of n into sine of pi upon t. Instead of t I will be n t minus nt, okay, upon pi by t minus nt. This is what your answer will be. And when you multiply x of n with these functions, you will get your xc of t. Now what is this function? Sin pi of t divided by pi t. It's a sinc function. So it's called as a sinc function, which is very popular function in DSP. Okay, so let's see this. So if I want to plot this sine of pi t by t upon pi t by t, what I get is if I look at pi t at t equal to 0, it is 0 upon 0, which is, so for that I have to use L'Hopital's rule, so that I will be derivating this. This is my HR of t. So my HR of t will be derivative of this guy, which is cos of pi t by t into pi by t upon pi by t. So what you will get is cos of 0, which is 1. Okay, for everything else you will get a value. So it's going to look something like this. It's going to be a symmetric function, dipping function. It's going towards 0. Okay, so it's going to be like something like this. It's going to have a peak at 0, which is going to be 1. Okay, since it's got a t, I guess, I believe it's got a t, no, this is fine, pi by t, right? Yeah, so this is 1, and then where does it go to 0? It goes to 0 when t equal to multiples of t. Okay, when t equal to t equal to t, this will go to 0. At t equal to 2t, it will go to 0, and so on. So this will be going, this is like a sinc function, it's called as a sinc function. So if you look at this, what is happening is you had your x of n, which was something like this. Okay, let's just say this is what you had. So this was your x of n at 0, 1, or let's say this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. This was your x of n. Now what you are doing here is you are multiplying x of n. Okay, you are multiplying this value with shifted sinc functions. So x of n is multiplied with this guy. What does this mean? When t at t equal to 0, t equal to nt, this is what the peaks will be. Okay, so sine of pi t minus t upon pi of t minus t upon t. This guy has got a peak. It's got a peak at t equal to t. Okay, how this guy had a peak at t equal to 0, same way. So what will happen is you are multiplying these functions with this shifted sine functions, and these sine functions have got a 0, which is again a multiple of t. So it's something like this. So it's got these zeros at these multiples, and it just goes to. So this will be again another sinc function which is dipping at these zeros. So something like this. So you are multiplying and adding. Okay, so you are multiplying and adding these sinc functions. They have their peaks at this point. So you have this thing something like this, and what you will, when you sum it up, when you multiply and sum it up, what you will be getting is a curve which may look something like this envelope. So this may be your x continuous of t, which is your recovered signal. Okay, your xr of t, which is your recovered signal. This will be the envelope containing all this function. Since you are multiplying it with a shifted sinc function, sinc function is continuous, so you are multiplying and you are getting this. So this is how the ideal reconstruction takes place. So this whole block diagram here, this block diagram here, which is looking something like this here, right? This one. So this one will be is called as a D to C converter. This is called as a, this block diagram here is called as a D to C converter here. So it's got an ideal reconstruction filter. X of n is the input, x of n is the input, and it goes to the D to C converter, and you get your x constructed output, which is same as C of t. Okay, so yeah, so we have covered C to D and D to C. Now the whole goal of this lecture was to you had done C to D conversion. Now we were trying to get back the original using the reconstruction process. This covers the reconstruction part of it. Okay.